So, Alan,
How's it going, man?
Yeah, it's going very well. Obviously, we've known each other for a little while now. I say a little while, a couple of months. It was literally because of this whole Greg Hallett deception.
Yeah.
And we've become friends. We've met in person. And I was really glad to meet you. You're a lovely bloke.
Likewise. Yeah, really good.
Thank you. No, it was good. So, Alan, why don't you tell us about how you met Seeker of Truth?
Well, yeah, I mean, it stemmed from us both setting up groups, didn't it, on Facebook, and yeah, we were both just very keen to get onto this agenda of Hallett's to promote himself as, you know, king of everything, and Christ Messiah, as he likes to call himself these days.
Not that long after I met you, you did a brilliant video. Because you run a podcast. Is that right? A radio.
Yeah. Well, I've had my podcast for a little while, a couple of years, which and I sort of broadcast my research into lots of different topics and things. And I've done about sort of 40 or 50 hours worth of podcasts so far. And I do have, a following to some extent, albeit sort of a very sort of fringe, small following sort of thing. But yeah, all my podcasts are available to download and listen to.
Myself and yourself, when we met, we're both putting out information that proved, and this is only, this is just the tip of the iceberg, but this information that we had back then, months ago, proved that this guy was not genuine, or at least that he may not seem who he is, and to at least look at this. And people met us with negative reaction. I mean, not only these people are meant to be truth seekers, into conspiracy theory, and look into, that they would put out that they don't listen to the mainstream media and they listen to other things, which we both do, right? But these people, they say they don't listen to the mainstream media, don't be a sheep, etc. But then they listen to this man, Gregory Hallett, and they will not listen to any information that people like me and you, who have obviously researched for years on other subjects, and appreciative of our critical analysis of things. And and I know that I am stereotyping, but they seem to, like I said, we were met with negative reaction from our research.
Well, the thing is, I think people really want to believe in something like this because it gives them some hope in a world that they don't understand, and a world that actually disturbs them very deeply. And it's kind of quite an easy thing to kind of latch onto. Okay, so we're upset with the establishment as it currently is, or as we currently perceive it. So because we dislike the establishment as we perceive it and the way things are, then we're going to pin our hopes on this guy who promises to change things or seems different, or because a lot of the time, and I'm sure you've heard it a million times before. Well, could he be worse than the royal family? That's the question.
The worst thing, Alan, for me, as someone who looks into these things, right? There are people that have literally, since even the coronavirus pandemic, literally for months, maybe even a year, have started looking into these things. And I've been at this since I was a young teen, and I, got ridiculed, and I decided to keep myself quiet about the conspiracy theories I was looking into. And in the last year, there's been a boom. And you say on one of your on your video, in fact, the one that I was talking about before, which I'll go back into, you say, it's a very good point. People have had so much time on their hands, looking into things, and suddenly they're an expert. They're an expert alternative news advocate, but a lot of these people are pinning their hopes, and I won't go too much into the Q movement, but they will. That's certainly one big thing they will do. They will go, right, this Q movement, and I'm all about the truth, and I'm all about anything that comes from this Q place.
Mm.
into Greg Hallett, which is what we're here to talk about today. They are actually clawing themselves into this guy who has piggybacked off of lots of popular movements. I mean, this includes the Q movement, the Trump movement, psychics, child trafficking,
and the whole psyop with
financial,
and obviously the Epstein story and all this other stuff that he's piggybacking off as well, sort of thing. And these are all very, very high profile in the mainstream media. Things like the Jeffrey Epstein sort of paedophile supposed conspiracy that's going on there. And for this him supposedly being now, obviously him committing suicide and all that. I don't believe he's dead at all, but I think it's part of this psyop in order to get people to kind of, raise their dissatisfaction with the way that they perceive things to be. And so there's this, it's basically a revolutionary psyop, basically, because the people want change, and they want to support people that promise that change. And often, as you were saying about the Greg Hallett supporters, they tend to be quite good at picking apart the mainstream media, and they'll scrutinize the mainstream media, but they won't give the same amount of scrutiny to Greg Hallett, just because he pretends to be something different, sort of thing. He pretends to be outside of the establishment and all this kind of thing. So they excuse him any sort of scrutiny, it seems, and they're just willing to go along with it because they actually just think, well, it couldn't get any worse. Well, actually, it could get a lot worse, and it has been a lot worse. And if you just look at examples in history, things that like what happened in the early years of the Soviet Union, for example, things can get horrifically bad. And people think that that it can't get any worse. Well, I don't know. His history does say something different, as far as that's concerned, in my opinion.
We should learn from our mistakes, and that is a major contradiction that these people have. They say, well, what's the monarchy, done, and how evil has that been for us? And then they say, let's put this man on the throne. And I say, okay, well, but who is this man? Let's look at the facts. Let's look at these facts. And they say,
they don't know him from Joe Blogs, do they? At the end of the day,
from Joe Blogs, like you say, this guy's come from New Zealand, and he has stated that he's related to Anne Boleyn through her surviving London Tower, surviving what's supposed to have been her death, and having a grandson who turned out to be Walter Raleigh, and then saying somehow it's connected to him. Well, I've done a recent video literally looking into his actual lineage from his family's side investigation, not only birth certificates, not only official censuses, but their ancestry.com research into the actual lineage. There's no royal connection. And then I look at his documents, I go through them, and it didn't take me long to just totally find so many inconsistencies and unproven claims. And
that just reminded me,
slotting in people in different time frames that lead up to the story leading to Anne Boleyn and Walter Raleigh. And throughout this story, there's no connection. And there's even two people that never existed as far as research concerns. And I recently put it to his supporters to ask him, okay, well, where's your research these people existed? And there's no questions being asked. Why is there no questions being asked? Because, one, they wouldn't ask well, most of them anyway, because they'd rather live in this bubble of deception. But
that's it. If they believe everything else, then they're not going to question him about that, are they? At the end of the day,
they want to live in this deception, this bubble of deception. But two, because they've seen the recent information put out about him. People are starting to question. People like myself and yourself starting to question him. and he's seen that his followers are seeing this, and so he's turned off his posts and commenting on all platforms pretty much.
Yeah.
In a way of like a kind of Gestapo type tactics, in being like, you speak out, you will get cold. In other words, you will be blocked.
Yeah.
Say anything we don't like, we will mute it. We will guys over it, and we will stop you from getting across that point. And
yeah, but I think at least when I see a video that has blocked their comments or turned off their comments, for me that just like rings alarm bells. Like, why are you not open to feedback? Basically, you've closed yourself off from feedback, and that just sort of like, to people that like you and I, that are looking for truth, looking for, you know, for genuine contributors to you know, they're actually after the truth and want, you know, and that should mean that you want to get involved in defending your position and all this kind of thing, and be open to criticism and you know, yeah, because you should be able to answer your critics, sort of thing. And if, you know, when he turns his comments off, it just shows that, you know, he hasn't got answers. He hasn't got answers to his critics. All he can do is,
he doesn't want questions.
you know, shut them up, basically. Yeah.
Just to go back, we were talking about, you put out a video, and this was just after I met you, in fact, and you know, appreciate the information inside, and that got me to kind of think, I should link up with this guy, and you know what I'm doing, I want him to be a part of, because his information is good. So to quickly go over a few things that were in there, you know, I urge people to look at that, and I will leave a link in the comments below. But you know, one of the things that really struck me was, I'm not a religious man, and you know, I know just to some extent, or you know, correct me if I'm wrong, but you know, you're at least a Christian, and you at least pay attention to the Bible and prophecy.
Yeah.
And this is one of the things that Greg has really kind of, along with the many other things we discussed before, has stuck his claws into and gone, you know, and we know, you know, and he's admitted himself, he was not a religious man before, and he was not a Christian. However, during his time looking into, you know, researching for the Hidden King, he claims that he read the Bible then, and he was met with people that talked to about biblical prophecy, and now he's all about this biblical prophecy. And in one of his videos, he admits he's looked at biblical prophecy and seen how that can fit his story, right? Actually, yeah. And then he's gone on to literally bamboozle bamboozle the whole sort of Christian crowd that are looking for the next coming, or a savior, or something to happen. And then gone on, well, I won't go into what he's gone on to since, but he's been on about biblical prophecy, and that there's all these markers that say that he is the Messiah, and he explains that the Messiah is literally, what his explanation is, someone that continues the work of Christ. And then he goes on, well, I mean, enlighten me, because one of the things is simple, right? His what's it called, logo. And you actually give an excerpt from the Bible. It was very interesting to me, because what was looked exactly like what was in his logo, rising out of the seas. Okay, why don't you tell us about that?
Yeah. Well, I mean, I've as you correctly point out, you know, I now am a believer in Jesus Christ, and as far as my journey through truth has gone, this is a relatively recent thing. I'm not an expert in the Bible, and I'm not, you know, I feel underqualified compared to a lot of the commentators out there in the Bible. But I was sort of speculating upon what Hallett's role may or may not be, because he was claiming all these certain things, and I know the one thing the Bible does say is that a lot of people will come forward and assume the name of Christ, and basically pretend and be an imposter on that title. And Hallett certainly seems like someone that, you know, is doing exactly that. You know, and I did, in my video, I did go through Revelation chapter 12, I think it was, that talked about a beast of the sea rising, and many things. You can go and have a look at it in the video. And I was speculating upon possibly this beast being in fact Gregory Hallett, but he's an appalling blasphemer. He is an imposter to the title of Christ, which is due to only Jesus Christ. And it's only now that the belief in Jesus has been eroded so much that he can actually say these kind of things and not produce widespread disgust and you know, negative reaction, if you like. And it does also make me think about Revelation as well, you know, because in Revelation 13 it says, "And I stood upon the sand of the sea, and saw a beast rise up out of the sea, having 7 heads and 10 horns, and upon his horns 10 crowns, and upon his heads the name of blasphemy. And the beast which I saw was like unto a leopard, and his feet were as the feet of a bear, and his mouth as the mouth of a lion. And the dragon gave him his power and his seat and great authority. And I saw one of his heads as it were wounded to death, and his deadly wound was healed. And all the world wondered after the beast. And they worshipped the dragon which gave power unto the beast, and they worshipped the beast, saying, Who is like unto the beast? Who is able to make war with him? And there was given unto him a mouth, speaking great things and blasphemies, and power was given unto him to continue 42 months. And he opened his mouth in blasphemy against God, to blaspheme his name and his tabernacle, and them that dwell in heaven. And it was given unto him to make war with the saints, and to overcome them. And power was given him over all kindreds and tongues and nations, and that no man might buy or sell, save he that had the mark, or the name of the beast, or the number of his name. Here is wisdom. Let him that hath understanding count the number of the beast, for it is the number of a man, and his number is 666. So that's Revelation 13, and I do think that there are some interesting things to relate to what Hallett is claiming. Hallett has made this logo, and this logo is kind of an ugly logo, but it has 3 sevens on it, as explicitly explained by Hallett. But if you look at the Hebrew numbers, the 7 is very the sort of international number 7, the integer 7, is very similar to the Hebrew number 6, or Vav. And to me, the number on his logo looks very similar to that of 3 Hebrew 6s. Also, Revelation talks about a beast rising up out of the sea, and it is apparent that the shapes of that form this 777 supposedly come out of the sea. It also mentions that he has the mouth of a lion. Now, a lion, the lion is connected to England, and he of course speaks English. So I wonder if that is relevant there as well. And if we believe that these prophecies are going to come to pass, then we are looking out for people that will fulfill the specific qualities that this prophecy has, and whether he will indeed be appointed by the devil, the dragon power on earth, to have this seat, this great authority over all kindreds and tongues and nations, to basically be the king of the world. So this is what we're looking for, it seems, someone that will be given this power, and to come out and although it says a beast rise up out of the sea, I've heard sort of an explanation for that way of saying it is that the sea is the masses of people. So this beast will rise from the masses, if you like, from nothing, to take this position. And Hallett would fit that bill. He would be a person that would ostensibly rise out of the masses. You know, he wasn't a king before. He'd rise up out of the masses and become this king of all the nations. But this guy is, as far as I see, there's no question that this guy is a liar, and he is an imposter. He is of the Antichrist mind, because he's a liar and a blasphemer and an imposter to that title. So there's no question that he is of this Antichrist mentality. You know, as time progresses and I see his popularity's sort of diminishing, I now maybe am becoming inclined to believe he's just sort of a sideline and a little deception, you know. But I guess
I've certainly entertained this theory that possibly he is an actual deliberate, rather than some guy that's come along that's made these sort of claims, and it's been in his, as far as my research goes, it's been in his background that he will make outrageous claims, and you know, he's a charismatic bloke, and you know, people are inclined to believe him in some circumstances.
Yeah.
But and this proves it. This whole thing proves it. But you know, I've had a lot of people talk to me, and I've had a lot of thoughts about, you know, maybe it's a deliberate thing, like it's a psyop. Now, there's two branches to this. So there's, you know, was he, because he, you know, he's a knowledgeable bloke, you know, he's an intelligent bloke.
Yeah, he is. He
does
is.
have, you know, he's written a lot of books, and he's done a lot of research, it would seem, but he is not a, you know, he's not a certified historian, but
yeah,
certainly has knowledge, and he certainly could talk history. He's an intelligent bloke. So there's two branches of this, like I say. One, you know, he questions the legitimacy of the throne. He has done a lot of against the norm history research, where he puts across a lot of points that do not line up with what we are fed to be our history, and a lot of actually, well, I say a lot. Some of that is verifiable. You know, the research we can see, and we can see actually he's talking sense and he knows what he's talking about. But then he mixes, as it seems, a lot of fantasy. So is there, if we're talking about the fact that he may be some sort of deep state agent, or you know, part of a planned deception, is it that they've looked at this guy and gone, this guy's charismatic and believable, and you know, people will trust this guy. Let's use him and talk to him, and maybe he's then, you know, agreed to it, because it would seem by his character profile from research that he seeks adoration, and not only that, he seeks money. So if these agents were to come to him and say, look, all right, you're believable, people look at you and go, what a nice bloke, I believe him, I'll put him on the throne, you know, do a job, carry on. You know, this whole Francisco Manuel thing, which we'll come to in a minute, you know, forget him, forget this Portuguese guy, you know, you're the king, tell people that. And see if people believe it. Maybe there's that sort of thing. Okay, I'll do that. There's money, there's adoration, there's, you know, all other people have said that he's not the same, that maybe he's being drugged, that, you know, there's people in his circles that know people that have alluded to moving around money, that have alluded to connections to the CIA, that have alluded to
Yeah.
a part of something bigger, you know. He got influence
Yeah, sure.
that
And I thought it
are
was
feeding him
really,
drugs that are actually mind controlling him because he does seem mentally unstable, um, and maybe a good target because he's very intelligent and he's very believable on the surface. Maybe they are mind controlling this guy as a pawn in a bigger deception. I mean, that's something to talk about that I haven't talked about ever before, but
yeah. I mean,
branches are a
it's,
possibility.
yeah, it's hard to kind of really get a grasp on where this deception actually came from. Whether he's been recruited to play this role as the prospective king and and Messiah and stuff, or whether it was actually his idea and he used his contacts like Jack Kidd, of course, who is the descendant of Lord Beaverbrook, and all these other contacts that he's got to to do this. I guess for him, it would be like a fun project that can be profitable, and uh, you know, I'm sure he loves kidding people. He always comes across as like quite a joker. He loves having a laugh, and he loves taking the piss, basically. And I think he gets a lot of thrill out of seeing so many people, just strung along by this whole thing. And I think even in the documentary, The Hidden King, when he's telling these things, he's often got this wide grin on his face, and he's really getting a bit of a kick out of telling such you know uh, crazy stories, sort of thing. Uh, like for example, he when he said sort of, oh, the so I reminded the Pope that I'm of the Christ bloodline, I'm of the Star bloodline, and the Pope said, "Oh, don't remind me." And then he gave him the Catholic Church. I mean, how could you not laugh when you're telling people that kind of stuff? It's like, it's fantastic, isn't it? Like, if that was my script and I was playing that part in a film, I'd love it. Um, so yeah, where this deception is coming from, I really don't know. But he's only like about sort of 1 degree of separation away from the Rothschild family anyway, really, because he talks about the Rothschilds breeding the royal family for 200 years. But then, you look at Jack Kidd and his sisters, and they're very, very closely connected. In fact, very good friends. I think it's not Jodie Kidd. I think it's Gemma Kidd is very good friends with David de Rothschild, who goes around the world promoting climate change, things like this. So he's only about 1 degree of separation away from the Rothschilds themselves. So, whether or not he's just been given the okay to go ahead with this sort of project, or whether it was like a much more deliberate establishment managed thing, I don't know. I suspect that it might be the former, because basically we see a lot of people falling away from supporting him now. And although initially, certainly Charlie Ward, I guess you'd say, was his main promoter, actually, although he always pretended to sit on the fence and say, oh, we're just interested in the truth. But in reality, that's the platform where his documentaries are being uploaded to. First and foremost, they went up on Charlie Ward's channel, and I've noticed his subscribers have been going through the roof. And for from someone like me on the outside, I can't understand why he has so many subscribers. He seems to have absolutely nothing to offer at all in the way of insight or intelligence or anything. He calls himself Dr. Charles Ward. Goodness knows what he got a doctor in. What cash management, moving cash around in lorries across the Middle East, presumably. Like that's his kind of qualification. He claims that he was tipped off about the economic collapse and that they were ready to do it, and then coronavirus came in, and that's been the excuse for the economic collapse. So whoever had been planning the economic collapse for years and years, suddenly it's happening now. And so we're supposed to like you know, we're supposed to now believe what the coronavirus means. We crown him, and it's all about Greg Hallett and stuff. So he's sort of admitting that, you know, like if Greg Hallett is about to be crowned, and that is all, you know, as Greg says, Charlie Ward's already admitted that this whole thing has been the result of many years of planning, sort of thing. So it's the establishment that is behind all of the whole coronavirus economic collapse that's been going on. So I mean, what, you know, it's none of it makes any sense. And also, it's interesting to me that a lot of Greg Hallett's research, like for example, he wrote a book called Hitler Was a British Agent. Mm-hmm. Well, throughout this whole period, he's like the latest chapter in the Greg Hallett book, basically, where he's now claiming kingship and all this. He doesn't mention any of that research, does he? I've noticed that he doesn't actually, because I guess he wants to attract, you know, appeal to as broad an audience as possible. So he hasn't gone into who Hitler was or anything relating to the Second World War or anything like this, because I actually think that his research, I mean, I disagree with the whole premise of him being a British agent, because I think it's missing the point. He was an agent for the Synagogue of Satan, but he's gone very quiet on all that research. So he's being very selective about what he's telling his audience now, I think, because actually his audience now are completely different to before.
Let's talk about the hidden king of England.
Oh, sure.
So have you bought that book?
Have I? Oh, no.
Oh, okay. Have you tried?
I actually haven't, but I gather it's impossible to get hold of.
It is impossible to get hold of. Do you know what? All of his followers have never read The Hidden King of England. You know, I've had a response to Hallett saying, talk to Jim Fetzer. He has a copy. Come on, mate. This guy that promotes you, you know, as part of his YouTube following, right? That he doesn't, typical of Greg, talk to anymore, right? He has a copy. Talk to him. You know, if I talk to him, do you know what? I might be able to get him to admit, you know what, Greg Hallett's cut ties with me. I have read this book. Do you know what's inside it? I know what's inside it. I've done my research. What's inside it? Why does he not want to, you know, he has made a lot of money from fundraising, from promoting himself. You know, I'm not talking tens of thousands. You know, the group of Greg, I'm not saying all of it went to him, but and I know that some of it was spent on video making. But you know, amongst Greg Hallett, Charlie Ward, you know, David Mahoney, that whole group, you know, fundraising wise, I can tell you that it is at least over 100,000, and I'm talking more, at least over 250,000 pounds they have made off of fundraising and promoting. Okay, so how easy would it be to replicate his old books on the Hidden King of England? He is saying they are being suppressed. Okay, his explanation is, oh, they're suppressed, I can't get them out there. Okay, so if
but he obviously can. He doesn't want
following, how easy would it be, and how easy would it be to sell these books, to replicate these books and put them out? Why has he not done that? I will tell you why. The reason he hasn't done that is because he says in these books that the rightful King of England, the lineage leads down to, and I am the Lord Chancellor, and I am the supporter of the true King, Francisco Manuel. Not myself, Greg Hallett, Francisco Manuel, and that is who he's been promoting before taking that story, cutting ties with Can anyone get Francisco Manuel? No. Where has he gone? Cutting ties with Francisco Manuel. He's probably been murdered by these guys. Okay, I say that. I'm not slandering, but by these guys who are money men that back Greg Hallett. Yeah. That's a great story. You know what? Get rid of this Portuguese bloke, because you could run with it on your own, right? You got the gift of the gab. You'd like that, right? Yeah, of course I would. I love adoration. Okay, so you're the Hidden King of England now. Fuck Francisco Manuel. Come on in. Tell everyone your story about how you are the true king. Okay, I will. Hello, everyone. I'm Greg Hallett. I am the hidden king of England. Love me. Okay, right.
Yeah. My name's Greg, but you can call me Messiah.
Yeah. Let's not even.
And I think you're absolutely right that, you know, it would be very, very easy to sell the hidden king of England directly to people because he's got a large personal following. They'd be, you know, they're buying mugs and flags and bloody fridge magnets with his logo on. You know, they'd happily buy a load of his books, but he's made them unavailable, and the reason he's made them unavailable is because they directly contradict what he's doing now.
Exactly.
Because it's like he's now claiming the kingship that he was working to give to Francisco Manuel, as you rightly say. So it's all a joke. I mean, and I guess this must make it so much more funny for Greg.
Mate, if you have the money and the power, and you can put it out as an ebook. If you have all this internet technology behind you, this following behind you, you know, you could charge people for that in document form. Why is it not?
Yeah, sure he could. And if it was a pound on ebook, I'd buy it. I'd buy it because I'd want to look through it, you know, and a lot of people would. You know, there's zero like overheads when you're selling it on ebook. In a sense, I think he's quite clever with the lies that he tells, because with regard to this whole you know, King project, he tells lies that, well, I say lies. He makes claims that cannot be either proven or disproven. So, you know, when he's saying, oh, the Queen is the illegitimate test tube daughter of Winston Churchill, now I cannot prove that, and I also can't disprove it. Although, you know, I might say, well, you know, if you're going to make such a wild claim, then you better have some evidence to support it. But I can't actually disprove it. I can't, you know, because I don't have access to that information. I can't exactly go and take their DNA and take it down the laboratory and get a certain result, sort of thing. So it's all then speculation. So then it basically comes down to whether or not you believe him or not. Where, you know, so as he has admitted, he's studied sort of psychology and things in Russia, in Moscow, as he's admitted. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly. So he knows how to manipulate people. He knows how to basically create a story that cannot be easily disproved. He's intelligent, but he's also a joker. He's also, you know, he's also a proven liar. He's also, you know, he's also got obviously serious personality issues. And I actually very much appreciated the video you made with Greg's sisters recently, actually, in which the organisation Centrepoint was mentioned, which was a so-called cult that he was involved in back in New Zealand. It reminded me a lot of an organisation called The Family, which was operating in Australia, and which Julian Assange came out of, and they were also involved in various sexual and drug use with children there as well. So and the CIA were directly involved in that as well. And Greg has also admittedly had dealings with the CIA, or the esoteric CIA, as he called them. So there are big parallels here, and I thought that was very interesting. So yeah, I think that's certainly an avenue that could be gone down, because these, you know, if you are indoctrinating people with drugs and with sort of sexual you know, rituals or whatever they're doing there, you know, this is a very, very strong way to control people. And also, you know, maybe that is where he made his connections, that, you know, got him connected to this establishment, connected to the kids, for example, or connected to you know, all the people that are currently supporting him now. Who knows where he connected to Charlie Ward, for example. I mean, there's obviously like a very big connection to the south of Spain. and obviously Charlie Ward admittedly works between Arabia and and south of Spain, sort of thing, and I think, did he say Northern Africa and in India? He's been working in India, and it seemed to be obvious that he was also had strong links to Israel as well, which you would expect from the fact that if cash is being transported around to places like India, because he said he was involved in the election of Modi in India, for example, and if cash is going to be transferred from anywhere, it's going to be coming out of Israel. I think it's obvious to people that are paying attention who's sort of which group is the one manipulating the world's affairs, really. So yeah, I mean, there's so many interesting angles to come at this Greg guy from. Sort of, why is it that Charlie Ward is promoting him, and who? Because Charlie Ward's actually quite sort of he's quite tight-lipped about who he's actually connected to. He mentioned the odd thing like, oh, I move money around, and he'll kind of brag about it, but he won't actually tell exactly. He'll say he's working for the world's elite, but maybe he's working for the Rothschilds. You know, why wouldn't he be? and you know, Israel was after all set up, you know, in part because of the Balfour Declaration, which was obviously a letter written to Lord Rothschild at the time. So the Rothschilds and Israel they cannot be separated from each other.
They're directly connected.
Sort of thing. The people that end up supporting people like Greg Hallett, they think that the influence over media by the elite, by the establishment, or whatever you like to call them, the deep state, they think that stops at the mainstream media. Well, it doesn't. All these YouTube channels, all these supposedly anti-establishment YouTube channels, as far as my research has shown me, there are very, very, very few genuine people out there, and that's absolutely, and that even includes the very, very fringe of the fringe. Every single sort of every single group, every single ideology is catered for and controlled by this same establishment. They have their agents everywhere. My first YouTube channel got taken down when I got to about 600 or 700 subscribers. So, you know, if you're putting very good information out there that challenges the sort of what the establishment want to propagandize people with, then you'll have attention paid to you very quickly, and you'll get strikes, and you'll get your channel taken down. Yeah.
Let's talk about David Mahoney. Okay. You know, watching your videos, I will say, I'm very impressed with the production and video making skills. The videos look great, Hollywood great. However, the content, I have a major problem. The content, I have a major problem.
It's Hollywood quality content as well, unfortunately.
Why do I have this problem? The problem I have is, David Mahoney, is that you're selling this whole story without yourself even questioning the research and evidence behind it. You've done this whole Hidden King 3, whatever it is now, 4, Portugal episode, and you've talked about a rewriting the Bible. You're going to do that, and you're going to give no evidence. Cut this whole story. No evidence at all, except for one thing, as I said before in my previous video. The only link to any evidence or proof or claim of proof to this story is at the end of part 4. Hidden King Portugal, historical researcher, Joseph Gregory Hallett. Now,
what's the problem? Isn't that, you know?
Isn't that enough, Alan?
Isn't that enough? Isn't that enough for you? He's the king. That's why I feel a little bit sorry for Dave Mahoney. He just seems completely out of his depth. You know, he's far more comfortable making sort of you know, low budget movies, and he's got, you know, he's got talent as an actor and things like this, but he just, you know, he's struggling, and yeah, maybe he has his own money invested, or maybe I thought it was far more likely that people like Charlie Ward and Jack Kidd were funding this project. But whether or not he's putting his own money in or not, he obviously wants to. He obviously wants the project to be successful, and that means Gregory Hallett's support continuing to grow. But as it happens now, his support is falling away. He's becoming widely sort of criticised, even amongst people that had supported him. So yeah, it's all going pretty disastrously wrong.
He is a brilliant video maker. The money he's poured into filmmaking is brilliant. The whole Hin King 4 documentary was brilliant as a fiction, right? It'd be a brilliant Hollywood movie. This whole thing was brilliant. But, you know, it is not a fiction. David Mahoney is selling this as real.
No, it's been good to collaborate on this, and to you know, Greg Hallett has at least brought us together in collaboration. So thank you, Greg, for that. So yeah, you know, and you know, who knows, we can collaborate on future projects too, I hope. So yeah, no, great to talk to you, Em, and yeah, and I think you're doing some great work, and keep it up, buddy. You got an eye for the truth, and you got a passion for the truth. So that's the main thing. Yeah.
I absolutely have, and Alan, it's an absolute pleasure to be associated with yourself.
Yeah. I mean, some deceptions are easier to see than others, I think, and with Greg, you know, it's not too tricky, I don't think.
No,
but,
I'm glad to have met you.
Pleasure, mate. Pleasure.